Good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Loudon-Norman, co-director of Atlantic Center for the Arts. I'd like to welcome you all here to residency number 146. First of all, I would like to thank all our artists who are here. Thank you so much for a wonderful 3 weeks, and we're so looking forward to tonight. I'd like to thank our Board of Trustees for your continuing support of our mission of giving people the time and the space to create. You're doing amazing things, and we're just so grateful for having a wonderful board. To all of our members, thank you so much for being here tonight. And to our guests, thank you. We have a new marketing manager, so we're Facebooking, we're in all the newspapers, and if this is your first experience at Atlantic Center, you're in for a real treat tonight. And make sure that you talk to either myself or Jim Frost, my co-director, and we'll be happy to give you a quick tour around the center. I'd also like to recognize Jack Mitchell, former master artist, former National Council member. For those of you who have not been in the Pabst Visitor Center and Gallery, please go back and take a look at the Jack Mitchell Portrait Gallery. Jack has taken photographs of so many of our master artists over the years. It is really a who's who of contemporary art, and we're so pleased, Jack, that you're here tonight. Thank you.
My name is Jim Frost, co-director of Atlantic Center for the Arts, and I too would like to welcome you all to residency number 146, Inside Out. It's been an amazing 3 weeks. This campus comes alive with energy when you all are here. Excitement for the staff, hopefully a lot of excitement for you, and a lot of hard work, and a lot of great conversations and discussions have come up during these 3 weeks. And we really appreciate you all being here, especially the associate artists who took the chance to apply, took the risk to make an effort to submit that application, and then take a chance to come out to the woods, 57 acres in Florida, in the middle of the summer, and join us for this 3-week residency. We can't do what we do here at Atlantic Center without you, and we certainly appreciate you all being here. And of course, I'd like to thank our master artists in residence. We've had 3 wonderful master artists this residency, as always. Melinda Wagner, composer. The lovely Marie Howe. And welcoming back Master Artist in Residence Pepón Osorio for visit number 2. Pepón is currently a National Council member at Atlantic Center for the Arts as well, and it's great to have him here in residence. It's been a great 3 weeks, and standing up here tonight, looking out there, seeing so many familiar faces who've supported us over the years and so many new faces, I'd like to make a very subtle pitch for those of you who are new out there to think about really and consider deeply joining this family out at Atlantic Center for the Arts, joining as a member, whether it's at the $70 level or the $2,500 preservationist level. Dave, we'll take that membership. We'd love to have your support. We can't run this amazing facility with all these incredible artists without grassroots support from the members of this community and the members of the Central Florida community. And so if you're interested in becoming a member, Jim Zock will be out there with his there he is waving. He'll be out there with his smartphone, pouring wine and swiping credit cards and signing you up for memberships right after the program. So please consider that. And without further ado, we're going to start the program. Here we go.
I'm Marie Howe. It's been my great privilege to work with the Poetry Associates these past 3 weeks. So much has happened. I want to thank the staff of this amazing place. I've taught and I've been in residence many places. And I don't think I've ever met a staff so generous, so present. Nick and I were talking today. It feels like every question, when you ask them, is answered by the word yes. It's a wonderful thing to be living in the middle of a big yes for 3 weeks. And the donors who give money to help make this happen. I don't think we really understand until we have it what time and space can mean to an artist in 2012. We all work for a living. We all do other jobs besides our art. And to be given this kind of time and space, and to be given the company of, in our case, the amazing composers and the amazing visual artists, has been a richness beyond words. So thank you so much. We in particular want to thank Margie Pabst, who supports the writers, and we've thought of you or mentioned you every day, Margie, just so you know. The sort of subject for the writers, the subject, the sort of subliminal subject, was radical receptivity. And these writers have been radically receptive. As soon as we got here, we realized we wanted to pretend to be or act as if or actually be visual artists as well. And Nick kindly gave us the use of the dance studio, and we went in and began to draw maps of the subject matter we wanted to enter. We have one of our associates brought us the great gift of an innovative way of writing, which she'll tell you about when she presents, but it's when you take text and erase it to find the poem embedded inside the text. Often we spend time together painting and drawing as well as writing. One of the other themes was to come to depend more centrally on each. I asked each writer to consider depending more on his or her own authority as an artist. And so we tried to avoid the usual critique, the usual workshop where we would tell the writer what to do and what to edit. And instead, it took an enormous amount of energy not to do that at first. Isn't that true? To resist it and to ask the writer just to read and read and read over and over again whatever he or she had written, and to listen themselves for what seemed to be needed. It was truly wonderful to be part of that process with you all. There's something else I wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you is what I wanted to say. One of the erasures looks like this. So this is a whole page of a novel by Louise Erdrich. And I looked at this today and I thought, oh, this might be a good thing just to read, to kick off the evening. It's a poem that emerged from her text, and it's about the gift of what we get here, I think. Beyond situation and anticipation, time rose and folded and gathered, unnoticed. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Linda Alexander Rosas, and I'm kind of a rare breed. I'm a native Floridian, so this habitat seems both wild and natural to me. But due to my wonderful master artist prompting, I tried to get out of my own head. And so this voice entered, a pioneer woman from 1890 Nebraska, which is a very rare setting for me. I have no clue about Nebraska. So it's a little like what I think the people from the Northeast are thinking of Florida. So here is the voice that came. It's a voice that will be shaped later, but here is her first utterance. To my sister in Cumberland County, I don't know anything about being a farmer's wife. The letter came, I went. Life here is as fixed as the land. I glance out the window and see how just past the fence it ends. Even the horse doesn't bother wondering. The first year was sparkless flint. Little Rain and all his children lined up to be washed and fed. James and Sarah and Mark. My hands are never gloved anymore. What's the use? Nothing will come clean of them. The sun turns them brown as the dying wheat. When I turned 20, I prayed for a man. Sometimes there is rabbit for stew. I skin back the fur from the cursed flesh, as simple as peeling summer peaches to make pie. He taught me this: begin at the back thighs, not the head as you might think. Maybe he saw me that way. He never kissed my mouth. Now I ask for water. The creek is stone. When he comes in at night, he wants supper, then quiet. I miss the sound of organ music, the dim hymns, your voice lifted. In the moon, I lie still for him, waiting. Thus he whittles away the last hour. At dawn, I find his blade on the table. A wooden figure, bird or a girl, hair crowned with tiny flowers. Something to take the children's minds off the dull dark. Sarah gathers eggs that blacken when she forgets to watch the stove. Mark is sullen. Still, he does the milking. Whatever task his father sets for him, glad to be near the mare. If he could, the boy would sleep with her there in her stall. He's taken to calling her by his mother's Christian name, Miriam. The youngest, James, clings to my skirt, flattened. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Travis Alford. I'm a composer. I'm currently a PhD student at Brandeis University, as you can see from the beginning of this video. I'm also adjunct faculty at Gordon College in Massachusetts. I've been in the Boston area for several years. I want to play actually a video that was made at Brandeis University of a piece I recently completed for this past year's Leonard Bernstein Festival of the Arts, which is held every year at Brandeis University. The piece is titled Ponder, and I'm not going to say too much about it because unbeknownst to me, they came around just before the performance and stuck a mic in my face and interviewed me, so I mumbled through a description, which you'll hear on this video. But they did edit it together very well, despite my ramblings. So yeah, I'll just let the video sort of speak. Thank you.
This is Brandeis University.
My name is Travis Alford. The composition you're going to hear is Ponder. It's a piece that was written specifically for this area, the pond around the chapels. So it's for 12 brass instruments to be played around a body of water. It takes as inspiration Handel's water music, specifically the hornpipe movement from that work, and uses the melodic material in a different way to create sort of an ambient space. I'm a student here at Brandeis, and this is one of my favorite spots on campus, and I don't see a lot of people out here, so I just wanted to sort of raise awareness for it, and I think it's just such a great space. Brass instruments, because I'm a brass player myself, and a lot of my friends are brass players. Also, just because they were outside, brass instruments tend to do better than say, strings or woodwinds, so there was a practical side of it too. But also, I think it sounds great to have sort of these, all these horns around a body of water playing into nature. I think it's great. hopefully the listeners will get sort of an overall sort of meditative mood, just a space, an acoustic space in which to walk around and hopefully to enhance the natural beauty of the area and just to experience in a sort of complete setting with the nature and with the surrounding buildings.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ellie Frances Douglas, and I am a poet. I've been staying here at ACA, and I'm from Austin, Texas. And I'm the second youngest resident, with Viet, who is next. And I'm going to be reading 3 tiny poems that I've written. Of the poems I've written here, these are 3 of the poems that I've written. So I hope you enjoy them. Paradise. It is true that I didn't know where I was going when I left. All I knew was that I wanted to feel closer to you, and the tropics may be closer to the afterlife than Texas. So now I'm in a new place. I concentrate on remembering the corners of your shoulders, your round little stomach. I catch glimpses of you with your hands in your pockets, gazing over the sea of palms and scraggly trees. I peel off flakes of bark the size of my hand and write notes for you to find. This next poem is called Grind, and it is a whopping 5 lines, so don't talk to your friend or you'll miss it. The grind. Bending to examine the sand for tiny critters, I find that it isn't sand at all, but shells ground to grit. Maybe one of the tiny white crumbs in the bed of plum purple and coral pink is human bone, a chip of pelvis, a speck of skull. Thank you. I just have one more poem, and it is titled Florida Hike at Dusk. Despite everything I thought I would never do, I followed my new friend when he said, "Ellie, it'll be okay," down a steep, sandy footpath to a riverbank. An alligator could have plucked me away like a shrimp on a plate, but the polished water stretched before us, and in the orange glow, my friend and the river seemed to blend, the bow of his shoulders a suspended ripple. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Viet. I am a composer, and I just finished up my degree at the Peabody Conservatory of Music in Baltimore, Maryland, and this fall I'm starting my PhD at Princeton University. While I've been here, I was working on a newly commissioned piece for a group called the Poulenc Trio, which is a group that consists of oboe, bassoon, and piano. And I decided today to play a piece that I wrote for 2 oboes and English horn, because while I was writing this piece here, I thought a lot about everything I learned when I wrote a piece for so many double reeds and oboes. So I hope you enjoy it. This is the 4th movement of my piece titled Suite for Trio. And this is performed by a group called Trio La Milpa, which is the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra oboe section. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Melanie Hubbard. I'm a poet living in Ruskin, Florida. During this residency, earlier than this residency, but I brought it to the residency, I began to perform erasures on the pages of a book with a title I couldn't refuse when I saw it in an antique bookshop, Auto-Suggestion for Mothers. I had no idea what it could be about. It turns out to be a sort of domestic psychology guide to raising your child through subliminal messaging. It was written in 1924, and I just thought it was a marvelous sort of terrible topic. Something that might call for resistance and exploration. So. Following, also something that I'd always wanted to do was sort of follow the lead of the artist Tom Phillips, who painted over a Victorian novel. It's called A Humament, and beautiful, beautiful pages with little words. It's so sweet. Go find it. And the other sort of inspiration was Ronald Johnson's erasures of Milton's Paradise Lost, the first 4 books. It's just beautiful. So I thought, well, I'll just give it a shot. I used some not very fancy chance operations, just sort of dropping stones and sticky notes and things to erase some of so that I couldn't see everything, so that I couldn't make sense to begin with. And then I had to kind of find the sense, which sometimes I do, and you'll see. And if you have ever taken a note, if you've ever written a quote, you're doing an erasure, basically. It's really ancient. But these tend to be a little less sensical. All right, I will do 3. Since the book is about mothers and children, the children, you might say, come up. This one's called Han, Writhing to Think. For real, accidents take place, turning the sewing to a sign engine. The parents work practical as a mat, becoming more and more that for well, and morning give a hat not to hang about, except Han, writhing to think, disappearing, recurring, freed till tea. I would never come up with these without this sort of help. This one's called Gender. Given in a child untruthfulness, in future it will not tell lies. Be brave and will always ear ashore. This will make mothers adhere to it, the sun precaution, a few feet away from the bed, fair, sleeping child, oblivious. The presence of a person bending spoke of its mother, a stranger, night, and finding a large bend in the gloom, murmuring gender. And this one is kind of a fare thee well sort of love note called So Pressing. To an order-giving foe, you can say with genuine voice, why aught our pleasure but sow seeds which will lie? This love holding out, oh give, for the moment you ring all together and enter into the world.
Hi everyone, my name is Eun-young Lee, but everybody calls me Young, forever young. But not in reality, but in music. I would like to play my piece I, which means a child in Korean and love in Chinese. This is for my friend, poet friend, Sharon Shade, and other moms who had to send their kids before them. This is my prayer for them.
I'm Melinda Wagner. I'm a composer. Wherever I go in my life, but mostly in my suburban town in New Jersey, when people are forced to talk to me politely in lines at the bank or at the grocery store, and they are forced to ask me the question, oh, well, what do you do? And I say I'm a composer. Well, I have various answers to that. The most common response is, that must be so much fun. That must be so much fun. And yes, it is fun to be a composer. It's fun in some respect. If it weren't fun, we wouldn't be doing it. But it's also incredibly difficult work that requires enormous discipline, endurance, incredible energy, mental energy. And yet, even though we daily spend hours doing this, composing music, it is in our society treated like a hobby. And we have to spend an awful lot of energy clawing and fighting for the time to work, to do our art. And I am just, to the bottom of my heart, so thankful to those of you who understand this and give us this time to be in a place where we don't have to fight and claw and explain and describe what we're doing and use metaphors to somehow explain why we spend so much time doing this crazy thing. It's so important for us to come to this spot to recharge our batteries and to be together. And I have gotten as much out of this as I call them my associate composers. We just really needed to do this. And I know their work will speak for, they can speak for themselves through their work. You're hearing these beautiful recordings. I will only tell you now that in addition to saying thank you, well, we're having separation anxiety. So we're all friends for life at this point, and I thank you at ACA for making this possible and creating a new community of friendships that will last a lifetime. So, thank you.
I'm going to play a piece for you which is called Step, and it's a piece for 16 different instruments. You'll see what they are in just a moment. I'm going to project some information about this piece, and you may read it or you may ignore what's up here and just listen. It's up to you. But either way, feel free to come and find me afterward if you have questions or comments or anything. And thank you so much again. We'll have this going in just a moment.
Hi everyone, I'm Hunt Scarrett. I'm from Pensacola, Florida, or as it's listed in the program, Pensacola. At dinner I was called a cracker's cracker. And when I first got to ACA, this is my third time as a resident associate at ACA, 1990, 1991, and now 2012. So I was 2 when I first came to ACA. Things have changed quite a bit. I took a jog one of the first days that I came to ACA, and I got lost at the end of Art Center Avenue, which might be a good song title. I just went off the trail, and I ended up having to sort of tromp across this sort of swamp, and there were birds and crabs and hawks and all sorts of things. I walked out to Highway 1 till I found a spot to get back in, and that's kind of what has happened to me at ACA. I came with this grand plan, which completely fell away. I've gotten huge inspiration from my fellow artists, and I want to say thank you to them. We come here to create, but we also come here to heal. We come here to love. We come here to be loved. We come here to celebrate. We come here to have great conversations, to have a swim, to have food together. And that is something that as a Floridian, as a Southerner, we like to gather around a table and eat and talk. So I'm going to read 2 short pieces and talk about who sort of inspired these poems. The first one was inspired by my father. That's my dad, Thomas Pugh Scarrett, or as we called him, Jojo. And this also is inspired by Ellie's poems about her father as well. And it's also inspired by my fellow poets. It's called Beside His Bed. There is no more room in my father's skull, the library too full for another book of days. I sit beside his bed, brother, son, da, kissing forehead, putting ice in cup, listening to murmur and coo, a gift of the end of days. The two of us, 2 particles who orbit, strange attractors, proton and neutron, spinning wildly, caught in each other's gravity, in the heat of DNA. Never meeting until we come together in the cooling collision of decay, falling inward. This next piece, short piece, was inspired by an impromptu concert that the composers gave to just the associates who were here. It was after a Pepón lecture, and it was touching and sweet, and it was a great gift. And so this is called The Leapers, or a love song for Doris Leaper and ACA. When I am old, even then, I will still love you. When I am cold, even when my eyes cannot remember, blue, so breaking free of flight, a peal, a clap, of lightning and the bite. I weep away with the spiders weave a sight of you, of you, of you. When I am gone, even then, even then.
Hello, I'm Barbara Rockman. I'm a poet. From the very first minute, almost, of arriving at this beautiful place, and I live in the high desert of New Mexico, so it's been an amazing gift to be here. But from the first evening, I felt this power of women in this place, women who were willing to claim their voices and their confidence and their art in so many inspiring ways. And there have been many surprises here, and one of them was this poem, which on day 3 seemed to channel through me. And it is a woman I would be happy to know, and in some ways I very much do know her, and I think maybe many women do. However, she lived in Elizabethan times, so bear with me as you enter the voice of someone from another era. The poem is called No Man's Bauble Be. Dear witness, I would thou peel back my outer rather than clothe me such. I am forced flesh, mandated thus. Here is my duty upon rising. Handmaidened, I am wiped down, may not secrete, nor my own hands clothe me. Save my pantaloon, I do pull up to smooth a buttock, then another, nay, not another pantaloon, but a second buttock. I have 2, but you, dear viewer, know not how my white pears have been screwed into one flat fruit. I am then corseted, a shuddering against sun, such held breath, such loud lament. I am near spent, and at mere break of dawn. Have you shaken flour into its sack and forced more, quickly knotted to stave its overflow? That is I. Once in, there is no out. I am laced in X's and top-bowed, leached of any pleasure vowel, any ecstatic consonant unallowed. It is only in stolen texts I read of the body meant. Dear voyeur, next I am orbited, stung, the hoop dropped. Not plaything looped down pebbled paths, but falsely spun and jounced. A nun's more native sway than this. And the gown, yet to pile down o'er bare shoulder, bicep, elbow, wrist, all of which lose twist, flail, gesticulate, capacity to lash the brothers. I have many, and woe, no sister. Oh, if so, such hiding out and songs, such throng to rail against all this. Alas, sisterless and cinched, I am powdered, To a white so sheer I appear ghost or slate or chalked. Such smoke, daily choke of it, I near swoon into the glass. The face, a fabrication, as if a master layered paint to gild and frame. And yet, patient witness, the lacing of tiny boots, whose points are witches' caps, yet crueler. My toes, fishes in a net's tip, or palsied digits crammed to glove. Anon, my romp of curls upbrushed, tugged, my scalp a field of flowers root plucked, clutched before they have a day to bend to breeze. Alas, my tresses, more skittles my brothers grab and fist before they fall. I am snatched thus, stabbed and netted at the nape. Now, I might stand, if standing is what's wanted, might walk a path, if it was walking wanted, might break fast and fork some this or that. But I, to the stabled mare, dear chestnut neck, pawed hay, spent leather, oh, splintered lip, cracked rail, stink of excrement. I am entire false scent, artifact, and will not last. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Schober, and I'm a composer. I'm originally from Minnesota, and am now living in Queens, New York City. During this wonderful 3-week period at the Atlantic Center, I have written 4 short pieces for solo piano, and I'd like to play 3 of them to you this evening. The order I have changed slightly, and you have to understand that creating titles is very difficult for me, so you should consider these working titles, or temporary titles. The one that's currently called LDSA is going to be first, followed by Armadillos and Waves. And in case you're wondering, the cryptic abbreviation is not concealing anything scandalous or illegal.
Hello there. My name is Elisa Zachlin, and I'm a poet. It's like a true confession here. What an amazing 3 weeks, and I am awed by such wonderful talent. As many of my fellow poets know, I walk around just saying, my heart is full, my heart is full. Such beautiful exchanges between the artists, and I'm so grateful. I'm going to read 3 poems. All were written here. The first one and the third one were inspired by events here, and the middle one I was finally able to write once here, so that's a good thing. Out of the movie suddenly. Think of it as interruption, the endless talk of things halted. What we don't need will sleep until we need it, as when her speech froze last night, right there in the middle of the movie, just after she'd said, "I've come to tell you." And for a minute, maybe 2, we weren't allowed to know what she would say. The 2 lovers on the screen held apart, the past inexplicably fraught. We waited and felt ourselves, little disk of loading in a dotted circle turning, to be made plain finally in the forest of their meeting. Sitting in the theater, out of the movie suddenly and into our own lives dropped again. We were a summer night in the dark there. Thank you. Anxiety, or the inevitable, is still not clear. Last night's dinner was soundless for her, mouths opening, closing, but no words. About the urn that houses the father's ashes, another daughter jokingly says to her mother, "There's room for two." In the lavender light of leaning, a horizon song, the background sound that holds us, the curve in a whisper, an ambient wave of exchange. I was holding a doctor's report. It was only vaguely troubling. Because our nerves determine everything, how we move, what we think. Because paying attention won't change a thing. On the garden side, mint greening up the fence, a burnt orange lily opening. I am looking to think more carefully about birds. They know when weather will change, when cloud cover and rumble will become roar and drench. In the garden of longing, worms for the birds. In the courtyard between buildings, burials. You can count on it. Forsythia, cedar waxwings, a trellis of sweet peas waiting for rain. The doctor says the wounds should hurt. How can she be taking fewer pills? The mother says, "I'm fine," meaning the shovel is out, meaning where will you put me? As if there weren't a hallway in all of this. And now the up-close calls of those hungry birds. What's inevitable is still not clear. First we sleep, then we look away. The birds do not care about this. At the feeder, a bird said just that. I heard in the squawking, the calling, those words press through the screen of my window, making their way to my ear, my waiting, hungry ear. Okay. And this last one I send out for Pam, Viet, and Dan. It's called Rocket. At first, we see the rocket, a mid-morning star lit up like a giant fleck of glitter. Then an arc and an into somehow the bluing atmosphere. After that, only contrail, a whipping plume of vapor. For a moment, it looks like a decorative spiral. Then it becomes a diseased spine. Someone says this, and nervously we laugh. Then it shapes into a philosopher's stone, and we contemplate the jagged holes where water once tunneled, loosened hip joints, a skeleton on the run. After we shop and put our bags in the trunk, we look up to see a few faint vertical strokes. Amid scrub oaks and magnolias, our day stretches out before us. Here and there, a little wind pulling on the leaves. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Irwin. I'm a composer. I live in Davis, California. I'm originally from Palo Alto, California. And the piece that I would like to share with you tonight, or that I'm going to share with you, goes with a short film. The film was made for this project by a Canadian artist named Jean Detu. And one of the reasons I wanted to share this with you is that it's quickly becoming a much longer piece that will go eventually with a longer film with multiple movements. And that's one of the projects that I've been working on here at ACA.
Hi, my name is Lynn Shapiro, and I'm a poet from Hoboken, New Jersey. And I am very pleased to have written these two poems here because they, I think, have helped me start a process, a project that's going to be very meaningful to me. The poems that I'm reading are two poems that go together. Okay, so this is a page from the Talmud, and I cannot read Hebrew, so I do not really know what this says. But one day I was sitting in the subway and I saw somebody reading this book, and it just seemed extraordinary to me. And so the poems that I'm going to read are poems about my family, and each poem, body of the poem, would be in the center square or rectangle on this page. And outside of that page are kind of narrative, prose, background facts about my family. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read one poem and talk a little bit about the text around the outside and read the second poem. Would it be possible to just simply show the next one very quickly? It's a cut and paste of what I don't know if you can. It's good. That's perfect. So the title of both poems are My Grandmother's Sister's Grandson's Wedding, Borough Park, Brooklyn. And each poem, I just put this together today, and it just was magic and set me forward. So what I'd like to do is just turn them off and read the poems now. Okay, and I'm going back to the middle, am I? Oh, and the extraordinary thing about the Talmud is it's a living book. It's sort of law, Jewish law on how to live. And in the center is the ancient text, and then around the central text is the text discussing the text in the center. And some of that text is 400 years old. And people every age add to the discussion, and so the pages are all extraordinary, but there is this core center around which all of that takes place. Okay, thank you. All right. And I'm sorry, I'm fiddling. My grandfather's sister's grandson's wedding, poem 1. He put down hammer and nails, finished laying the banquet hall floor in time for his own wedding. On it, he stands as a boy, a son, in prayer, with eyes closed until the breaking of the glass under his foot. His father takes his white wedding shirt within his fingers, works the buttons through tight holes, one by one, tenderly. He wraps the wide black cloth round and round and round his son's waist at the birth line. The groom's heart enters the black coat, his soul the hat. He is readied to walk within the father's guiding light to the chuppah. The bride journeys there, retraces the belt's centrifugal course, walks round the groom to stand beside him on the ground he laid, becoming herself a belt, the way story surrounds story in the Talmud, the way everything blooms from inside out. Thank you. And this is just a flavor of how the text on the outside works. I'm not going to read it all, but a flavor. Dear Michael Goldstein, I was given your card by a librarian from the Center for Jewish History. I am searching for Mordechai Krengel. He was from Lodz, Poland. He was a survivor, ended up in Israel. This is his last address. We have 14 Ehud, Bnei Brak, Israel. Lynn, I can help you. It normally takes up to 4 or 5 hours to find or throw in the towel. I do not believe he is still alive. I most likely will have to visit the Interior Ministry to see if he is linked to children at the population registry. Do you know what his wife's name might have been and when he was born? Was he religious, as Bnei Brak today is very religious? Also, is there reason to believe that if I reach the family, they would not be receptive? So this is the second poem. At my grandfather's sister's great-grandson's wedding, poem 2. The eldest daughter took me by the hand, seated me with her 5 sisters, opposite rows of fedoras and fur in a garden of tailored gowns around the chuppah. The bride traveled 7 times, an endless veil of night, each step a stitch, 7 times escorted by maternal illumination to stand at the threshold where the roof retracts, opens to the heavens, opens to heaven above heaven. The sisters draw me close, whisper in honeysuckle, this be the holiest of times. Right now, generations of ancestors have descended. 10 generations are here in this room, and they know that you are here too. I sense fabric, shoes upon shoes upon shoes, and wonder if unseen thread can really restore that which has been severed. Thank you.
Can you come forward? And the sad thing about this whole thing is that we've had very intimate conversations and wonderful conversations, and now they know that I can call them by their first name, but I cannot remember their last names. So when it was, we were told that I was actually telling them once that, by the way, my name is Pepón Osorio, and I was telling them, you know, usually when I go to cocktails and I get really nervous, what I do, and I see 2 people that I can't remember the names, I usually back off and I say, can you introduce yourself? You should know each other. So can you come over and introduce yourself?
My name is Wanda Raimundo Ortiz. Is this thing on? Wait, what's your name again? I just wanted to say real quick that thank you, Barbara, for reading your poem that inspired the beginning of this piece. I had no idea she was reading that tonight, and she had no idea I was doing this. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Jade Humay.
Kelly McCafferty.
I'm Tyson Robertson.
Okay, so I'll briefly will tell you what we did besides laughing and having a great time. The sad thing is that we have to go back to a reality that we constructed among ourselves in that other side of the world that compensates for the wonderful time that we had here. I think that at the end, what we did is that we created a body of work and a conversation about the core, the creative core, and we mostly talked about what that place looked like and how honest we can be in the process or in the production of our making to that place, to the place of honesty, to the place of our own origin. But at the end, toward the very, very end, the common denominator is forgiveness. And I think that in a conversation we all had, we came to terms with the fact that you have to forgive to make art, and you really have to come to terms with that place. So that somehow, and I'm sorry if you're welcome to say anything you want, but I think that somehow that sums up the residency. It has been an amazing experience. Thank you, Atlantic Center for the Arts and the staff and everyone who has been so supportive, because it's really about opening up this blockage, this creative blockage that we have constructed, ourselves in the production of our own work. And somehow I feel that it was really like opening up and allowing the stuff to actually flow in a way that it was welcoming and it made sense. And so, yeah, most of the work is very large. I wonder why. The studio is totally conformed, and there is actually one piece by Jay that is in his, how do you call them, the suites? And just enjoy it. It's all over the place. Thank you for coming tonight.
Everyone on your program there lists the studios and various places where other activities will be following. At this point, I'd like to invite Marie Howe and Melinda Wagner and all of your associates to come up. And all of you, please come up here, take a bow together. You deserve a big applause.